What's going on YouTube? My name is Marcus, aka Apostle, and today I am bringing you another sub-fight breakdown for week 3. We got a bunch of good fights. I've already gone and looked through them. There's a good amount of, variety in these ones. So yeah, it should be good. Should be fun. We're going to start out with Chris and get into it. If you enjoy, like, comment, subscribe. Get some Sour Patch Kids, I guess. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe, check out the Twitch stream. We do stuff like this all the time. Also, if you want to submit your own clips, anybody who's subbed to Twitch channel is able to drop their fights in here and have a chance at being featured. That's the word. 9:49 to 10:49. So I went and I watched this one this morning of Chris. In the beginning here, he's middle of a fight on the bridge. He's running conduit. He teleports out. Running conduit with flame. Got an epic TP. Has, what is that? Harmony? Harmony, fervor, and recklessness, it looks like.
What actually? Invalid target?
This is where he wanted me to pick up. He teleports out here and pots up. He wants me to review the next minute here. It's potting up.
Luckily no one was there.
He actually calls out right here that he should have gotten sniped from the Dust Pool area, or like the Gritfield area. It says that he's lucky he didn't get sniped. And Chris, being the genius that he is, he's 100% right here. And gets sniped at from exactly where he said he was going to get sniped at.
What did I say? What did I say?
I freaking love Chris, man. Okay, so this is where the fight starts. He throws his flame wall down to block the ice shot. He realizes the guy's up here, and he does a smart thing, which is teleport to this side, which rotates him out of the field of view of the ice shot, and also pinches this guy in between them. He's a fire user. He gets a little cut on the roof. He's doing a good job of maintaining his distance here. He kind of got stuck there. I'm not the biggest conduit player, and by that I mean I don't really have a lot of time in conduit, especially since release. And beta I played a decent bit of it, but I would think that he might want to teleport a little bit further because he's not quite out of range of the fireballs with his teleports here. He does another good teleport out there, and that was the portion of the fight he wanted me to go over, so we're going to watch it again a little bit slower. But I think what could have helped him win this is, one, teleporting a little bit further. He did a good job of keeping the high ground with his teleports. And since he's not so far, at about this distance, I would have switched to fireballs. Like, the way I like to play conduit is right here. He's kind of certain that he's going to catch him in this sorcery that he has down. So what I would have done is I would have cast the sorcery and then pushed with my fire gauntlet to trade damage, because right now he's winning the fight. If you look, he has more shield, more health than his opponent. It's hard to see because of it, but I think he could have played a little bit more aggressive right here. It's a much more even fight. He knows, if you look at let's look at the damage. He knows that the guy doesn't have harmony, because if you can see this little yellow arrow right where I'm pointing to, that's a damage increase. If there's harmony, there's going to be a purple arrow down. And so with harmony, you know, since harmony negates damage, it shows you next to the damage meter. But with harmony, you also know that they're not going to get stunned. So when he hits this stun here, he knows that the guy is actually going to be stunned because he doesn't see that purple down arrow. So I would have pushed right there, and just jumped on him and used my fireballs, and then maybe teleported out and created distance, and maybe just kept a little bit more distance here. The rotation into this field wasn't the best. I would have maybe moved towards the tower, but then he's able to teleport out and pot up. I do want to watch the end of this fight. He pots up, goes back into it. He casts his sorcery and is just spamming stuff, spamming conduit, because he has infinite mana there. He's pushing back in. He uses a teleport. I maybe would have used my sorcery before doing that, just so I have 2 teleports up, but it's not too crazy. But see, like at this point in time, he could have had his sorcery back up, and he could have had another teleport here. He does teleport away, gets into the house. But that's the unfortunate thing about being against a corner, is that toxic clouds will hit you through the walls. So if you're playing toxic, or you're playing against a toxic player, be very aware that if you throw a cloud, you can hit people through walls. So if you are against a toxic player and you're behind a wall hiding, get a little bit of distance, or you can check corners if you are a toxic player. He's kind of in a bad position here. His teleport fails, which is the absolute worst. He throws it onto Flame Wall to make sure he doesn't get sniped, but it also breaks line of sight. And he creates distance. He knows that he's in a bad spot. I'm not sure why he's not just completely disengaging here. He's kind of staying within range of them, but also not looking at them, which is dangerous. Like right here, this whole time, he could be getting chased. I don't have the sounds on, so maybe he hears that they're fighting and realizes that there's only 2 people left. But he's playing this pretty smart. I'm really just looking at small things at this point. He's doing a good job of kind of staying out of line of sight while he's getting his pots off. Don't really know if he should levitate there. He does get infinite mana, so it doesn't matter as much as it would on other classes. He takes the high ground.
Oh,
Falling off the high ground there was... I'm pretty sure that was an accident. He probably should have kept the high ground, or if not kept the high ground, moved to this pole right in front of him, or this whatever tower thing, so that he can check, because what he's doing right now is he thinks this guy is underneath him. So what I probably would have done, he doesn't have his dash up, but I would have tried to make it to this tower to check, and to also pinch hit this guy up against zone, so he has to push me. He's doing a good job of playing his flame wall. The flame wall against this guy is super smart. If you pay attention, this guy is running toxic and frost, which the flame wall blocks both of them, right? His frost puts a hole in the flame wall right here, and then he casts toxic right there, which the flame wall eats and blocks for him. So playing the flame wall is super smart. Right here, Chris is running fire and lightning, so I wouldn't have done that right there. Flash freeze is really, really good against both fire and lightning. What he could have done is tried to get above it to shoot into the flash freeze, but from here he can't do anything. And then he pushes in to his own sorcery, which is tough. He's running Harmony, which I kind of forgot about when I said he shouldn't have done that. So he doesn't get frozen. If he wasn't running Harmony, that would have been a really, really bad move. But since he doesn't get frozen, but still, once he's inside the zone here, this is still working against him. This flash freeze, if he's on the inside and the bug's on the outside, it's still going to block his fireball, like that first one there. So he should have played a little bit more patient there and just waited for the flash freeze, maybe created distance. But I mean, it worked out still. Just a bunch of little small things. Chris is a really good player. But yeah, a bunch of little small things to take note of. We'll move on to Umbral. Umbral's another good player. Ran into him a bunch of times. Had a lot of good fights against him. We're gonna watch his fight. He's not in chat. So we're starting out. He is low, potting up. I did watch this clip this morning. He's potting up for the good first 30 seconds of this. There's 5 people left. He's not in zone. I'm gonna skip forward. He's moving towards zone. I don't know which zone this is. I don't know if he has Squall or not. If he doesn't have Squall, it's very worth it to touch zone and then go back to where he's going. I did notice while he was looting, he's spending a lot of time looking down at the loot, so that way he can't... let me go back. So watch how he's looking at this loot. Right here. Like, he's not getting any information, really. He should be looking up higher at the wall so he can see the roofs of this building here. he's really just like, honestly, he's just staring at a wall when he could get more information. But it's looking up a little bit higher. Like literally, if he just aims up here, he can see so much more of what's going on. He could easily have somebody sneaking up, or he can catch somebody that's a little bit further away if he was looking up more. So touching that forest zone isn't too crazy. It would still help, but it's not like a priority at this point. Tempest's fourth ability isn't that great. He's heavily pinched right here. So he has this guy behind him in this house, shadow stepping. He turns around and he sees this guy. And what he does is he starts putting pressure on this guy. What I would try to do is get up and to the left and rotate up on this high ground. Instead, he kind of shadow step, or he spring steps and kind of just puts himself in a corner. Which is like, when that happens, you kind of go into full panic mode. He didn't. He's also levitating a lot. For like a Tempest player, like see what he's doing right here. So when he falls in this corner, he could have wind jumped out. Like if he hit this corner and then turned and hit this wall, he could have pushed himself out to the side so he wasn't so pinched. It also would have made him harder to hit, but he's focusing on doing damage. He's using his frost while he's not paying attention, which isn't a bad idea. But as soon as this guy pushed him, he should have went up. So right here, jump, look down, and wind jump. And then you'll be on top of him. Which is one thing, a lot harder to hit fireballs while you're looking up. Another thing, if they don't hit the fireballs looking up, it's not going to do combust damage. I don't think this guy is even a pyro player. But still, as Tempest, if somebody gets that close on you, you want to get on top of them, and you want to be wind jumping on their head, especially as Tempest Frost. So he manages to pull it out, snipes the guy in the back. He wins it, but he could have done it with a lot less damage, and he could have ended it a lot sooner. He's lucky this guy didn't push in and fight him, because he'd probably be dead right here. Just potting up. Then right here, this guy shadow steps. You can see the poof right here, and you can actually see he's invisible. So there's a pretty good amount of... Basically, you can see that there's a lot of things showing that somebody's shadow stepping. You can hear him. He's really close. You can see his cloud, and you can see he's invisible. So right there, I would have spring stepped out. He's not even close to finishing out his pot. He's still trying to finish his pot. He should have broken that pot a lot earlier. If they would have turned and focused him, he would probably be dead at this point. He's really heavy focused on like finishing off these kills. He's focused more on doing damage than avoiding damage, and that's very dangerous, especially in a 1v1v1 situation. Because you're not going to be able to out-damage both of them, right? It's going to be really hard. So you really want to be doing as much damage as you can, but also a little bit more focused on avoiding damage. He hits some really nice shots. He gets on top of him, but he kind of goes a little bit too far. He's really using his frost when he shouldn't be here. Like right here, he's so close range. There's no reason for him to use his frost. He should have just kept wind jumping or spring stepped away from him. But then he gets on top of him, like I was saying, right there. Like, look how much damage is in this little, like, 1 second. I'm going to slow it down when it gets closer. This is literally, like, 1 second of game time. And just because he got on top of him as Tempest, he has a purple wind, and he has Squall, which gives him the damage buff. And he's, like, perfect range. So he absolutely just, like... Look how much damage. 14, 11, 9, 8, 8... like, look at his health just getting shredded. So that's what you really want to be doing as Tempest. And he should have used his spring step. I'm pretty sure this guy... Yeah, you can hear that he has conflag, so it's very clear that this guy's a pyro player. There's a lot of signs of it. So he needs to be sure not to touch the ground. Pyro's very similar to stone in that way, to where if you're on the ground and they miss you and it hits the ground, it's still going to do damage. So you want to be above a pyro player, or else it's just basically free damage. But yeah, I mean, overall, decent fight. Pretty solid. I just think a little bit more focus on avoiding damage instead of doing damage and getting on top of their heads as Tempest. And playing like your ranges a little bit better. So if you want to be close range, or if you're stuck close range, use your wind. When you use your frost, try to create a little bit more distance before you're using it. Especially like this. It's nice if you can hit them, right? It works. But like this distance right here, even if you hit a fully charged frost shot right here, he's going to hit you with like 3 or 4 fireballs, which is going to do more damage anyways. So you basically let yourself be a sitting duck at close range against a pyro. And I'd say going for that frost shot lost you the fight. You also had your tornado up, which you could have thrown down to help you get above him more, and it would have eaten his shots. So like right... It's hard to judge this. Right here, when you run out of mana, throw down your tornado in between you and him. It's going to launch you back up. It's going to give you time to regen mana, and it's going to eat his fire, which is going to do damage to him. So if you threw a tornado down right at the end right there, he probably would have killed himself. If nothing else, it would have given you time to regenerate mana, and you could have created distance to get a frost shot off. You could have gotten on his head with Tempest. There's lots of things you could have done with your tornado. So I think that comes down into avoiding damage. Let's move on to Clever. Another good player that I've had a lot of good fights with. Okay, so he's running Frost with Stone, Harmony, Scavenging, Recovery. He's got full Recovery, which is really good, and 1 tick of Scav. Which is not bad, but having Scav full is like a big deal. I don't really like to play Frost on Stone, but you can make it work, especially since you can freeze people on your Frost Trail. He starts off... I want to restart. We're kind of getting started off in the middle of a fight here. He starts off, uses his boulder, and he's playing in the middle of the field, which is good. He uses his Shadow Step to get out of the way of that tornado, but he also... He got lucky that that guy rotated that way, because I think he should have went maybe backwards there to get out of that tornado and that shock instead of this way, because now his flash freeze isn't blocking the lightning. He just has to hope this guy doesn't see him. So he should have kept his flash freeze in between him and the enemy. Staying silent there was a good play. He's also, it sounds like he's playing on speaker mode, not headphone mode. Which, like, it makes noises louder. And but it makes them feel like more echoey, and you can't really tell which direction as well. Like, this guy's firing lightning, and it's really hard to tell which direction he's shooting from. So maybe switching to speaker mode would be a good idea. I wasn't paying attention to the fight. I was talking about speaker mode. He's getting shot at. He has his flash freeze, so what he wants is this guy to push him. He should have stayed where he was at, or have taken this high ground a long time ago, because he wants this guy to be close, because he wants to melt this guy with stone. Because this range right here is really good for Conduit. It's also really good for Stone, but it's like if Conduit sees you at that range, they're hitting basically every shot if they're decent. He's very spammy. So maybe he does want to keep a little bit more distance. Flash freeze is great here. Hits a nice frost shot. Stone slam. I want you guys to notice right here, he breaks his flash freeze, but then he also stays behind the bushes. So this guy can't actually see him, and the bushes are saving him. And since he did damage, he can see where this guy's health bar is. So he hits him, And look how long he has of tracking this guy. He hits him and he can see exactly where he's at through the bushes. Basically wall hacks. And finishes him off. This is a tough one. I feel like this is just a tough build to play in my my personal opinion. And a very tough build to play against since it's so spammy. It's very good at the range that he wants to play at stone. So he needs to do exactly what he did here, where he breaks line of sight, but he can also still use stone. So see, the conduit gamer can't do anything against him, but he can still hit him with stone. So playing in this general area isn't a terrible idea if he can stay on the left side of the rocks, if he can stay over here, because stone will most likely go down this side. So I think this is really the best place he could have fought him, but he shouldn't have went out this way because now stone's for sure not going up this rock right here. But I think that was really, really smart. And then breaking line of sight here as well. Keeping the high ground and making sure your stone can go down it is what you really needed to do. And you didn't do it throughout the whole fight, but you did it enough to get you the win. So it's pretty good. Pretty solid. And we got 2 from Cheddar. This one's mean. He calls it doing a Marcus. And I don't appreciate it, but I respect it. I'm gonna switch to the high cam since he's got a face cam. So yeah, don't do that. Let's not make this doing a Marcus. And then we'll just pretend, right? I have to say this fracture right here, right outside of Whitgrave, is like so big and is right on the edge of this cliff. I'm pretty sure this fracture kills like half the people that fall into fractures. It's like the most dangerous fracture to play around. So yeah, don't fall in it. Alright, let's watch his real fight. Is this in scrims, Cheddar? This seems like it's in scrims. So straight out of the gate, he gets sniped. When you're playing somebody that's running Frost, you don't want to do that. You don't want to use as Tempest. You don't want to go up into the air. You should have line of sighted this wall here, charged up your own Frost shot if you wanted to, and then jumped up and peeked him. But going up into the air just basically takes away all your cover. And to dodge, you basically have to waste a dash. See, look, it happened again. Every time you go up in the air against this Frost user, you're getting hit. So you want to stay low against Frost users and then use your wind shears horizontally to push you on the ground faster instead of popping you up in the air. That one worked out well. That one worked out well. You kind of have him on the defensive, so it's a little bit less likely that you're going to get shot. So you can play a little bit higher if you know they're not charging up Frost, or you know that they're running away. If they do charge it up, it's going to be a really difficult shot because they're going to have to turn around and hit it quickly, and it's also not going to be able to do a lot of damage to you. But if you're running away, you do not want to peek somebody with Frost by using your updraft or your wind jumps. Playing smart, trying to prevent the pot there. Nice job freezing his cloud. I don't know why you used the flash freeze there. Kind of a waste. But that was smart. You froze his cloud here, so now he can't use it again. You could have actually held your sorcery while you're in the air instead of casting it, and it would have, you could have like canceled it, and it would have been a little bit, it would have allowed you to keep your flash freeze up, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. There's really no reason for you to cast it in the air. It's also, I think this is the same guy, right? You switched into like the second half of this fight. So it's the same issue here. Same exact issue. Every time you're going up in the air with your Frost, you're getting hit. Look, up in the air, he's on the offensive. You don't get hit there, but you go up again. He's on the offensive. You have no dash. You get hit. So your flash freeze is really not going to do anything against him. Because he's using Toxic and Frost, and both of those go through flash freezes. So what I would save it for is if he's trailing you, to prevent him from going through certain areas. So like if you go through a tunnel or a door or something, you can pop your flash freeze as you go through the door and he can't chase you through it. Extend a little fat finger. The floatiness of Tempest got you. That was a good tornado to just break his line of sight a little bit and make him have to... The shot's going to curve around the tornado if he shoots through it. It's really dangerous to use your flash freeze offensively like that if you're not on Frost and you don't have your like level 3 talent. See right there, you almost get sniped again. Every time you're going up in the air, you're basically asking to get sniped. So what I think you want to do here is try to create more distance. I don't know how confident you are in your Frost abilities. That worked out well. So I want to rewatch this last bit. You either want to create a little bit of distance. Let's rewind. You want to create distance to make him have to use his abilities to come at you. So you want him to throw down his cloud and use a shadow step to close the distance on you. And then once he gets to you, he's not going to have any more utility. And so Outbreak isn't as good. And that's what happens right here, I think, right? He doesn't use anything to close distance on you. He uses a dash right there, and he uses his cloud, so Outbreak is a, Outbreak isn't as threatening. This actually was really smart, but also could have went bad. You dashing back at his cloud, if he went to go reuse it, it would be hard for him to land right next to the cloud again and outbreak you. But you usually want to try to freeze the cloud as much as you can, or you can even push it. If you hit it with 3 wind shears, I think it completely gets rid of the cloud. So that was a really good time to full engage. You had just gotten off a big pot. Did some damage, you hit a nice frost, and then you full committed right there. Right here, you full committed. Which was good. You full committed and you just wind spammed him down. So yeah, just, I mean, the big thing is be aware when you're fighting Frost to not use your updraft that much. That's really the biggest thing you should take. Stay lower to the ground. So against Frost, how do you play as Tempest? So what you want to do on classes, usually what you want is you want people to try to close the distance on you, right? When people are closing the distance on you, they're creating an opportunity to get hit. For him to get to you here, he has to come out from behind cover to get to his next thing of cover, and he had to use a dash right there. So you're making him use his cooldowns to get to you. You're making him use his cooldowns and expose himself to get to you. But yeah, with the Frost offhand, you kind of want to play in areas with a lot of walls, right? You want to bring them into areas like this castle if you're playing against a Frostborn user, because then you can peek, you want to take your Frost shot, and then you want to go back down. And then if you can close the distance, then you can hop on them with wind and blow them up really, really quickly. It's also really good. So if you watch me play Frost, what I do a lot is the same thing that like Elpa does a lot, and it's a really good strategy as a Frostborn, and that's what you're trying to do here, where you try to catch him in your flash freezes. Your tornado is going to let you wind jump, or is going to let you get out of these flash freezes. If you throw a tornado down, it's going to launch you up into the air out of the range of being frozen in these. So if they jump right on you, you should try to either get up in the air with your wind jump or get up above them with your tornado, because they're most likely going to try to freeze you, the Frostborn user, that is. But yeah, playing in areas where you can block line of sight is really good, and you could just keep peeking from different areas, because at that point you're basically, as Tempest with Frost offhand against a Frostborn user, it's basically Frost versus Frost until the distance gets closed, which you want them to close the distance on you, because closing the distance on a Frostborn user, you're basically going to get hit, or you're really exposing yourself to get hit, unless you have like a long way to break line of sight. You're just taking a lot of opportunities to close the distance on them. But he did a really good job closing distance on you right here. You're behind the tree, right? You can hear he could probably hear you're not charging up Frost. And then when he does push, let's watch it again. When he does push right here, he has to burn his dash. That levitate was way too high, right? I think he knows where you are already. It seems like he does. But he should have stayed low to the ground, ran at you, and used all of this low ground to break line of sight on you. But he does a good job of getting behind cover and breaking line of sight again. He just exposed himself for like no reason, levitating up there. Like, look, he uses a lot of his mana, probably like 3/4 of his mana, and then he uses his dash. So say you're behind this cloud and he doesn't know you're there, then you basically have the upper hand. But yeah, he could have just walked out behind this cloud. So yeah, break line of sight, try to make them close distance on you if you can, and play in more crowded areas against Frostborn users. And then we will watch Max's. He says, I want to preface this by saying the video quality is terrible and there's no audio. It looks like Shadowplay has a bug, so I have to use Streamlabs OBS for the time. I understand if we can't review it, but I'm putting it here just in case. I watched it. It's not that bad. We can still tell what's going on. This is a fight against him right off drop. He's Pyro, which is really good right off drop, and then he gets a blue Tox and a blue belt. So he is set for a fight right here. Like, if somebody landed on him and he got this loot, the other guy loses. He also got a white Shadow Step, so he's in a really, really, really good spot for fighting off drop. But what he does here is he sits back and spams fireballs trying to get free distance or free damage. And this is like a big mistake, because he knows he has good loot. And what he's doing is he's allowing the other player all of this loot. Look, there's 2 big chests right here that he should be defending. Because the more chests that he allows this other player to open, the less of an advantage he's getting from his blue belt, his Shadow Step, and his Toxic. So he needed to be pushing right here, basically immediately, and securing this loot for himself. He would have to give up the high ground for that, but I think it would be worth it. The other guy gets a conduit. He does a good job of pushing up on him. Or gets a lightning gauntlet, I should say. He does a good job of pushing up on him. Maybe right here. I would... Right here. You know he's going to fall behind this wall and break line of sight, but you can still throw a firewall up on the stairs, and it'll hit him behind the wall. So that would have forced him to move again. You're also levitating out of this tornado, and that's why you're not moving. If you watch, he throws in a tornado right behind him. So he's trying to close distance because he knows he's one shot, but then this tornado, he levitates and the tornado holds him there, so he can't close the distance. So don't levitate away from tornadoes. It's very hard not to do. Right here, he could have killed him easy. That firewall should have been the end of him. He throws out his toxic cloud, it goes through the firewall and immediately turns into dragonfire. If you guys don't know that, if you throw your toxic through a firewall or a fire puddle, or I think even if you hit it with a fireball in the air, it dragonfires immediately as it hits the ground. So if he threw his toxic cloud there, it immediately blows up. He also, right here, he goes to do damage with another dragonfire. And what he should have done is shot a fire as soon as he casted, but instead he waits for the toxic to hit the ground and then shoots, and it only gets one tick off. So he should have either done that, or what would have been even one step better right here is cast his firewall right now. He can get a firewall off right here, which would he would have already taken, see, he took a tick of 6 here, so that would have been a dragonfire tick. So he would have taken a tick of 20 and then another tick of 20 there, and then his only direction is that way, and that would have been in his firewall. So I think a lot of this is just playing a little bit of nuances, especially in this, like this last bit where he's low health. He's basically one dragonfire away from death. So you should just be trying to land the easiest, quickest dragonfire that you can. Or flame wall or anything to keep just damage on him. But I think really where the main issue comes in is right here. He saw this other guy. As soon as he got this loot, he should have been pushing either for more loot or to defend this loot. Because right now he's sitting and doing nothing. And I think he gets one fireball off right here-ish. I don't know. I didn't hit him with the fireball at all. So he's literally standing here doing nothing but wasting time. Oh, he hits a fireball there, but it's still... If he pushed up on him, he could have snuck up on him, one thing. And closed the distance easier. But basically this whole time right here on, so what is this, 9 seconds to 25 seconds is all wasted time. He hits one fireball. But he could have been getting better loot for himself or sneaking up and putting himself in a better position. I think also he sent me Taco's view from that. So if we watch, this is when it happens for Taco's stream. If we watch here, right? Tacos doesn't even know he's there yet. So he could easily have just closed the distance on him. He did get a really good flame, which is unfortunate. I still think that that Max was in the better spot because he had the belt. And then if you watch right here, this is where he gets the lightning gauntlet out of there. He gets a lightning gauntlet and a blue shadow step, which is a huge upgrade on his loot. So now he's at perfect distance to get shredded by this lightning gauntlet. It takes a free like 30 damage. And then the fight kind of goes downhill from there. He almost wins it here. The tornado actually saved Taco's life. But yeah, so basically being a little bit more aggressive off the drop and securing loot and like denying loot of other people. You should be trying to loot basically as quick as you can off drop. He does have one more video that he put in here, and it's the last video. I know it's a short one. I don't know if I actually watched this. He says, if there's time, I'd be interested to know how I might have attempted to dodge out of this third party a bit better, aside from the fact that I missed the wall and stayed on the ground. I mean, more so after I took stone shots from behind. Okay. So he wants to know how not to get third partied in this. I mean, first off, here, you could have gotten on the house, which would have given you a little bit more information, right, of things that are around you. You know there's a guy there with the boulder. I would have... He kind of wasted a dash and was a little hyper-aggressive here. So what he could have done is just landed up here on the staircase, and he could have still gotten a fireball off. He wasted the dash there, which left him on the low ground against a stone user. So as soon as you see stone, just try to get up on something. Even if you're not focusing the stone user, you need to be getting up on something. So he could have easily, right here, landed on the staircase, jumped up, and then used that dash to get up on this wall that's even further, which would have pinched the guy that he's fighting and kept him out of the way of the stone shaper. So the rotation was good, but then the stone's behind him still. That dash right there was basically for no reason. He has a lightning, so he could have used his sorcery. He knows the guy is like back over here, so he knows the general area of the guy. So he should have used his dash to create distance, and then he could have thrown a sorcery down in between him and the opponent. But he does miss the wall there. I think just creating more distance would have been better in that sense. I don't know if he actually dies here. Oh, that's unfortunate. It's hard to tell with without sound, because you probably could have heard him coming up this way. That because he got here really quick. He probably used a spring step, which back there, which allowed him to close all the distance. He probably used 2 spring steps, to be honest. That's a good frost sorcery. Oh, that's unfortunate. He fell in the house, rotated around. So I think just your overall positioning right here, this dash, was like where the main mistake was. The dash and just focusing on getting that kill. Like, look at he's got 100 and it's hard to see 20 health. He uses lightning to finish that off, but then he takes a fireball, a stone slam, and then another stone slam. So he loses more than half of his health trying to finish that guy instead of avoiding the damage. So it's just a little over aggressive, and then playing on the walls, and just going up and down that wall right there is like right here. This whole area is like perfect for stone shapers, right? Or to fight stone shapers. Because you can go up and down this. What you don't want to do is if you get caught on this with the stone shaper is most likely gonna hit you. But you can take pop shots off, drop down. The stone shaper is gonna have to drop down. Then you levitate back up, and you just keep going up and down this wall right here, and you would have been able to kill the stone shaper. But really, the big mistake was not creating distance once you realized the third party was in. As soon as that third party came in, your goal should have been to not be focused by the third party. Instead, your goal here was to finish off this kill. That's what you made your priority, and that's where you lost all of your health. So I think you still would have been able to finish this kill if you got up on the other wall. And prioritized avoiding damage instead of doing damage. And I do that all the time, honestly. Being hyper-aggressive is very easy to do. Alright, though. That's it. That's our sub-breakdowns for the week. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check out the Twitch stream down in the description below. Love talking about stuff like this. Love talking about the game overall. If you want to go above and beyond, my creator code is right up here somewhere, I think. Yeah, right there. You can throw that in the Spellbreak store, and it gives me a percentage of what you spend. If you don't use mine, use somebody else's. It's free money to your favorite creator. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Later. Cool. Cool. You guys learned some stuff?